Cowboys come up with a big W.
Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Hope you all had a fabulous weekend. Welcome into First Take. Dan Orlovsky, Max Kellerman, Molly Karen Rose, Stephen A. Smith, and a special salute to America's real heroes on this Veterans Day. We thank you for your service today and every day. And we had a great time on Friday in Arizona at the Air Force Base, Davis-Monthan.
Yeah, sure.
So appreciate you guys hosting all of us. We got some football to talk about, fellas.
You do?
I know you might be happy. How about them Vikings? When Dalvin Cook gets hot, the party is over. 97 rush yards, 86 receiving yards, his 10th rush TD of the season. The Cowboys are now 1-4 versus teams outside of their division this season. Stephen A., why did the Cowboys lose this game?
Listen. It just amazes me. I'm looking at a coach by the name of Jason Garrett, who has a guy in Ezekiel Elliott, who, by the way, the 47 yards rushing was eerily similar, if I recall correctly, identical to the amount of yards he rushed for in the playoffs against the Rams. He ran for 47 yards in that game. He runs for 47 yards last night. Somehow, some way, with him clearly struggling all evening long, in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter, Jason Garrett calls, or whether it's Jason Garrett or somebody else, they scored like 3 consecutive running plays for Ezekiel Elliott when Dak Prescott is flat out balling. 28 for 46, 397 yards, only sacked once, 3 touchdowns, just an interception. He was absolutely spectacular last night. It was one of his better games as a Dallas Cowboy. I'd say one of his top 3 games as quarterbacking the Dallas Cowboys in his career. He was absolutely phenomenal. Somehow, some way, you're not calling his number. He doesn't run. This guy can run with his feet. He doesn't run at all last night, at all. You call no plays for the quarterback to run the football. A matter of fact, when it was pivotal at the end, did you target him going to Amari Cooper? No, when that clearly was an unstoppable combination. You didn't do any of that. So I got to look at the head coach. I got to look at the offensive coordinator, unless Jerry Jones was calling down from the booth. And I'm not going to accuse my buddy Jerry Jones of doing such a thing, because last time I saw it, he was in the booth during the game, and he was sitting next to his son, and he was sitting surrounded by a bunch of people. There was no phones. We didn't see any phones coming in Jerry Jones' hands. He did not direct anybody on the field to do the things that they did and to make the decisions that they made. Now, obviously, you look at Dalvin Cook, not just as a runner with 97 yards. Look at him as a pass catcher. All 7 times he was targeted, all 7 receptions, 86 yards. Pivotal, because all of them, pretty much, at least 6 of them, were for first downs, for crying out loud. So if you are Kirk Cousins, who's, by the way, since he apologized to Thielen and Diggs and not getting them the football, has been playing lights out. I think he's a leader in a passer rating past 20 yards. I think he's one of the leaders in terms of the amount of touchdowns that he's thrown. He's been absolutely exceptional since that apology weeks ago. So we got Kirk Cousins playing better. We got Dalvin Cook as a stud. We got Dallas coming out slow, spotting them 14 points. We got Jason Garrett, or his offensive coordinator, with the wrong kind of play calling. We got the ineffectiveness of Ezekiel Elliott, the wasted effort of Dak Prescott. All of these things fall in line. Y'all can debate which one was more important. All I care about is the final result.
Well, you're blaming the Cowboys, basically.
The Cowboys have fallen. You're damn right I'm blaming the Cowboys.
No, this was not bad Cowboys. It was good Vikings. Now, look, Jason Garrett, I believe, ultimately will undermine their chances in the playoffs, and that was some questionable play calling late in the game. You brought it up. I just want to say real quick before I get to the Vikings, Amari Cooper. Remember when it was like, is he a top 5 receiver very early in his career? And then he kind of fell off. But like, when you think about the way he goes about his business, the kind of talent he has matched with the kind of work ethic and the way he runs routes and everything, he's just the guy you want on your team. And they did. They went away. They tried to run the ball late, and it didn't work. But that's usually a pretty good idea with Ezekiel Elliott, unless the other team has a really good run defense when it matters. You've got to tip your cap to the Vikings. And when you look at this team, I picked Minnesota to win this game, even without Thielen. And the reason I did is because when Dalvin Cook gets going, especially early, that sets everything up for Kirk Cousins. Because now Kirk Cousins can be what he is. He's not some great franchise quarterback. He can be a good game manager when he has everything a guy needs: line, receivers, a great running back, a defense. If you give Kirk Cousins everything, he should be able to be accurate enough to have 2 touchdowns and no interceptions by the end of the game and a win against a pretty tough team in a tight game. Right? And that's what he's being asked to do right now. This has been primarily, if you want to point to one person, it's Dalvin Cook. Excellent Vikings recently.
He was certainly the best running back on the field yesterday.
When he gets going early, it's really tough to deal with him.
Zeke Elliott, at least rush yards of his career.
How can you say it's not bad Dallas? They're at home in prime time. The team that they're playing is missing their best receiver and their starting corner. The Cowboys have no reason. I mean, it's because the Cowboys average to below average. Let's just call it what it is. They're 5-4. They've got the easiest schedule in the NFC, and they're 5-4. They got one win against a team with a winning record. One. The Eagles. One. Do you know who has more wins against teams with winning records? The Falcons, the Bucks, the Browns. The Cowboys are just an average team. And on a night where the other team didn't have their best receiver and starting quarter and their quarterback played unbelievable and Coop was unbelievable, they still lost. They still lost because they're an average team.
Are they an average team based on how they're performing or based on the talent that they actually have? Because on paper, they don't seem average.
100%. It's because of the result, how they're performing. Because on paper, they're as talented as any team in football. And that's why all offseason it was the Cowboys have to sign Zeke because they are a Super Bowl contender. But the performance result-wise against teams that can line up and are coached well, this is not the Dallas Cowboys team. See, they're 5-4.
Is going to be the beginning of the season. Everyone, when he does it early, sets up Kirk Cousins. There are a whole lot of.
Yeah, you're right about that, but let's be specific as to why you're right about that, Max. Here's the bottom line. Whether it's stretch zone plays or whatever the hell they want to call it, the reality is very, very simple. Football. Get Cowboys. About that. We came in Dan because we were Anderish, how formidable they were going to be. They did not have a great night last night. Now that might happen to have something to do.
Dallas Cowboys linebackers, they're so. That's exactly who you'd want. Stephen A. is right. That should be answering the issue of the other team's running game or even dumping off passes to the running back. What gives with the linebackers?
Okay, two things. So those linebackers, mainly Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch, are outstanding, but they're young. Okay, so good coaches. Think back a month ago or 5 weeks ago to the Green Bay game. Green Bay went down there, did the same thing. Utilized the aggressive play of the Cowboys linebackers to our advantage. That's why the run game and then the play action becomes such a big deal. The screen game becomes such a big deal because when you're playing against aggressive linebackers and the great ability of theirs or the natural ability of theirs is instincts. Go, react. You use that to your advantage. So that helps the run game. That helps the play action game. That helps the screen game. So it's a blessing and a curse to be that good and that instinctual at that position when you're playing against good line and good coaching.
Even with me bringing up personnel because I wanted to, just dissect that particular point. The real bigger issue is yet again the Dallas Cowboys came out into the game flat. You surrendered a 14-0 lead before
the story all year.
It's been the story with them. To me, that's coaching. To me, that when you consistently come out and are playing, once Dallas gets going, they look unstoppable against most teams. The problem is if you're operating from a deficit, I'm sorry, why do you come out flat at the beginning? Because they make in-game adjustments. I'll give Jason Garrett credit for that. In-game adjustments, they've been impressive. But to start the game, what the hell is going on? What are you doing during the week?
Dan, I'll give you the last word here.
The end of the game sequence, right, where they move the ball down the field and then they go run. That does not come from a play caller. That comes from the decision maker. When the play caller is rolling like that, the decision maker is trying to not leave any time on the clock and still score a touchdown. So Jason Garrett had to come in and say, hey, let's get a run or two in here so we bleed this clock and still be able to score a touchdown.
The priority is score the touchdown.
I understand Dallas is underperforming, but I do want to mention Minnesota has been impressive. 5-1 in their last 6 without a healthy Thielen. Dan sticking around, and we'll have much more on this game a little later in the show. Guys, the upset of the season went down in the Big Easy yesterday, but find out why the Saints loss is no big deal. Stephen A., what else we got?
We always got a huge Monday coming your way right here on First Take. I'll tell you why Action Jackson and the Birds should be booking flights to Miami this February. Plus, don't miss who is really to blame for the low tide